right. Welcome back. Another episode of the Constant Grind podcast. As always, joining me is Zach and Toby. Got some new upgrades to the studio, moved some things around. As time goes on, production value hopefully keeps going up. I was a neon white figure against a neon white wall. So we're trying to improve the experience every step of the way, trying to adjust the audio a little bit, got some stuff trying to mitigate some echoes in here. But besides that, it's besides the point. Tonight we're going to focus on Zach a little bit. We're going to have him give us a rundown on his story, his experience. We're going to start out pre-accident, run into when the accident actually happened, and then the journey that is been pretty amazing since then. There's a lot of positives that came out of a very negative situation. We can't wait to hear about it. So, all right, Zach, let's get into it, man. What I guess my first question for you is, what was your life like before all this happened? What were your interests? What'd you do? What give us a rundown, buddy.
Well, I was 1,000 miles an hour. I never slowed down, constantly doing something. And I was interested in, I rode dirt bikes, four-wheelers, the normal stuff. I would go to parties in high school and stuff, normal stuff you do. I was constantly either on my pedal bike, you name it, I was doing it. And I never was a type person to ask for help. I always would struggle my ass off until I couldn't do it anymore. So then I'd ask for help. But I guess I was pretty much the normal kid. I liked to party, maybe party a little too much. College was fun. You had fun there. But no, I was pretty much normal. I was very active. I worked out a lot, lifted, ran cross country in high school. I wrestled. I was just the type of kid who just didn't slow down. I didn't sit in the house ever. If it was nice out, I was outside. I was doing something.
Let me ask you this, buddy. Since you were an athlete, I guess going through high school, I know we're all young and we really don't know how to think, and control our mindset and stuff like that. But how were you, from being an athlete, were you very proud of yourself? Were you already like, I can do anything? How was your
my attitude? Like when I was hard on myself, I guess you could say. In wrestling, I tried to do my best, but I was always the type of person who I got nervous. I could never, like, I see a kid over there getting ready to warm up to wrestle. I was going to wrestle him, and it's like I get intimidated. I was that type of kid who would get nervous and before the thing. But once I stepped on the mat, I was good. Even with running cross country, same type of situation. I would get nervous before the race. As soon as I put my foot in the line, I was good to go. I was proud of what I did. I took it very seriously when I was in wrestling, cross country. I didn't really party much at all during the season, which off season I had fun, but I was very proud of what I did. And I wasn't the best wrestler in the world. I wasn't the best runner in the world, but I went out and did it. And I think that that's what paved the pathway of my mindset now. Just being a person who went out and gave it his all and left it all out on the mat or out on the trail when I ran cross country. And I was just I tried my best at everything I did. So, you guys have questions prior still?
I'm just listening, man.
Yeah, man. So what, you were 19 when this happened. So yeah. In the year that you were out of school, give us a little rundown what happened there.
All right. So when I graduated high school, actually, funny story, high school graduation, I graduated with a big cut in my eye because actually that I was on my pit bike, my little dirt bike, and I was drinking a little bit, having a little fun, and we I actually looked like an idiot. I had my shirt cut down the middle, tied, and I went to a graduation party that day that I wrecked, and wrecked my dirt bike, and my mom was really proud of me when I showed up there. So I hit a jump on my dirt bike and cut my eye wide open. Thought I needed stitches, but I didn't. So I graduated with a big cut in my eye. I looked like an idiot during graduation. Again, another proud moment. But the year I graduated, I worked all through high school, I guess. I after school, I'd be off season wrestling. Like I said, off season cross country, I'd be working. I worked at a little sorting factory. And then that summer, sort of partied up, had fun, went to college. I was going to college in Clarion University for computer science, and college life, it was fun, but I did study. I was doing pretty good in college. It's one of those things where I wasn't sure if I wanted to go to college, what I wanted to do. You're 19 years old. You don't know what you want to do. I honestly didn't. I would rather went to work and just went right to work, but I felt that I needed an education, which now I see really not huge. You can do what you want. I mean,
Absolutely.
Honestly,
I agree with
you
that
don't
100%.
you don't need or education. I listened a lot of different podcasts, Gary Vee, just different things like that. I mean, it's all up to what you want to do. And honestly, I don't think I would have finished college. That year I came home, I really was contemplating not going back. Just going right into the workforce. I was going to apply for jobs down a local paper mill. Oil fields was definitely another option. I was wasn't into college. I was into having fun at that point too.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I can relate to that a lot.
It's
my parents pushed me to go into college, and it wasn't for me.
What it was.
And after a year, I was kindly asked to leave because I never went to class, went hunting.
Yeah.
And then you get out, you go to the workforce, and it's like, I loved it. I went to work for my dad. I was in a paint booth, 10, 12 hours a day. And I was happy because you go and work, you do your job, and you leave. You don't spend all day at work, and then work lays out all these assignments. You got to spend the rest of your off time trying to crunch out for the next day. And I just felt
the
cut and dry is nice.
Yeah. I just felt like it's something that you had to do. Sort of, I guess my parents would, you go to college, you should go to college. It's like, it's what every one of my friends did. But now you think back, it's like, it wasn't for me. My parents growing up, that's another thing I want to touch base on. Growing up, my parents were very hard, not hard on me. They watched out for me a lot. They would always want to know where I was at, what I was doing, which was a good thing. And then, my senior year, they backed off a little bit. They let me go do things. A lot of things they didn't know I did, but they always watched out for me. And that was why the reason I want to touch on that is, parents, they can do as much. You can watch out for your kids. You can be on their ass all grown up, but it really it's the person, it's the kid. You got to make good decisions, and one bad decision can turn into a life-changing thing like what happened to me. So that's one point I want to touch on. It's just, I talked about it before in one of my blog posts. Just parents are so hard on themselves when I know my parents, something like this happened. They're very hard on themselves. Like, called us a couple hours before the accident and stuff, and you were saying you were staying there. I did what I shouldn't. I left, and I felt like I was invincible and could do what I wanted to do. But parents are way too hard on themselves in a situation like this. And it's just, you can't watch out for your kid all your life, I guess you can say. You can tell them the right way to do things. And by no means, I was a bad hell-raising kid out there being an idiot all the time. I was a normal kid, and I guess it just make bad decisions sometimes.
I think that's a story for a lot of us, especially growing up in this area. It's you're going out in the woods, you're partying, you're doing your thing. You're driving drunk. The difference is we got lucky, and one of my buddy's dads laid it out perfectly. A guy who's had a couple DUIs and wrecked a couple of vehicles. He said, you only beat the odds so many times. And that's a very true statement.
It's true.
I've made plenty of poor choices with that. You wake up the next day, it's like, wow, shouldn't have been out there. Shouldn't have been doing that. I'm lucky. And that same guy told me that it was the second worst ride he ever had on that road that he's totaled a few vehicles, was with me. And, it's at the time it was kind of a funny thing, but looking back, it's,
Yeah.
but you mature a little bit. It's like, wow, that not something to be proud of, and just, it's something to learn from. Luckily I was able to learn from those near misses, those close calls, but said, you only,
You get lucky.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Honestly, it's luck.
yep,
All
beat
comes
you
down
out
to
so
luck.
many times.
Hey, I do want to say before we get into this in depth, this is honestly the first time that I've ever actually in person talked about the whole story. So if I,
well, Zach, I hope you're ready for it. I hope you're comfortable with it. If you're uncomfortable with anything, you just say,
No, I'm ready. I talked about it, over typing and stuff, but so I'm ready. But I'm gonna get into the day of the accident. Sound good?
Yep.
So
Yep.
You're the captain of this ship, buddy.
So every 4th of July, a bunch of my buddies would get together, we'd go camping. We'd go out in the woods camping for 4 days, just an all weekend, have fun, drink beer, stay there all weekend. So every year we'd do this, we'd go shop and prepare for it all big time. So that year, we went out there, had a blast all weekend. Believe it was on a Sunday, we were running out of beer and we were staying till Monday. So we're sitting there contemplating what to do. The beer distributor was open till noon, I believe. And one of my buddies, I said, I'll drive down and get it in my vehicle. You guys can ride me if you want. So my other buddy said, no, I'll drive, I'm good. We're fine. And by no means, we were drinking. It was probably 1 o'clock, I think. And it must have been 11:30. We were drinking, we were having a good time. And by no means we were hammered or super drunk, but we were feeling pretty good. So my buddy's driving and, we're dancing, having a good time, going down into Johnsonburg. And we were coming around a curve. It was a really sharp curve, just getting into town. We were probably not even a mile out of town, just getting in town, coming around a curve. And I remember so we were in a single cab truck. Driver, I was sitting in the middle, and my other buddy is sitting next on the other side of me. And remember coming around the corner, and I was talking to my one buddy. I turned my head and I saw it looked like a car was on our side of the road, but here we were on their side of the road going around the bend. The guy driving cut the wheel towards the bank, and I just remember him saying, or somebody saying, "Oh fuck!" And next thing I knew, I woke up face down on the road. To one of my buddy, a kid who lived close by, ran down because he heard that we wrecked. I woke up face down the road, and I was like, oh, boy, I really screwed up this time. And he said, hold on, the ambulance is coming, the ambulance is coming. I just remember that moment not being able to move anything. Literally, I couldn't turn my neck, couldn't move my arms, couldn't do anything. And I just remember looking at, or he was bent down, and I kept going in and out of consciousness. I remember blacking out a little bit, and he just kept saying, they're coming, the ambulance is coming. I just remember saying, boy, I really fucked up this time. And I had no idea what I was in for. Not a clue. So that day I got life flight down to Pittsburgh, and in Pittsburgh, I still didn't know what was wrong. So they said I did something to my spinal cord. So I'm thinking, like a broken leg, you're going to be laid up for about a couple weeks and you'll be fine. So that night they just kept me stable and I was alert and stuff. They had me a bunch of good pain pills. So I was loopy, but the next day it was 4th of July and I got surgery that day, and I still didn't really know. I had no idea what was going on. I just figured, they'll give me surgery and I'll be fine. And this was my first surgery I ever had in my life. So I was nervous for it, and got surgery. Remember the surgeon coming in, telling my parents, it went very well. We considered it a severe whiplash. I never cut my spinal cord. It just was severe whiplash, a lot of swelling. And I remember him telling my parents, don't take him out of school or nothing. I've seen a lot of things happen. I really think we did a good job. So that is when they came in and told me, I had a spinal cord injury and I'd have to go. I'm going to be staying here for 7 days in the hospital. They're going to monitor me. They're going to go through different things. did a little bit of therapy there, and after the 7 days, I remember it was a big fight with insurance companies because insurance didn't want me to leave the hospital and I needed to get to rehab. They say it's very crucial I get there. You know how that stuff goes. It's a big, you pay for insurance all your life. My dad paid for, he worked, had a good job, and it's like you're fighting back and forth to get out of the hospital. And it was unbelievable. It blew my mind. It's like, I need to get to therapy. I need to start moving. I've been laying in bed for 5 days and really not doing anything. And, I was getting frustrated. My parents were all frustrated, and I just couldn't imagine their situation. They couldn't really do anything for me. But I missed a point. And the day of the accident that I wrecked, my mom called me an hour before I wrecked and said, how you doing? She could tell I was drinking. She said, "You're staying there, right? You're not leaving." I said, "No." So we're staying, we're not doing nothing. We're just going to stay here, party till tomorrow, and I'll be home in the morning. And I think my grandma called my mom and said there was an accident. Where's Zach at? And that's when they found out about the accident or whatever. So I thought I was invincible, and nobody's invincible. Shit happens in a fucking blink of an eye. 1 second I'm running around being an idiot. Next second I'm just can't do anything. And so back to the hospital, I went to rehab and finally got to an inpatient rehab facility. And that's where I sort of knew how bad the injury was.
At that time, did they know how bad it was, or were they still on that it was whiplash?
They knew it was whiplash. So when I did the surgery, I don't know, I slipped the disc and they had to go in and, what the heck am I trying to say? They put screws in a plate in my neck, the C5, because it was a C5, C6 spinal cord injury. They figured, and they didn't know. They've seen a lot of different things. Every injury is different. Some people who had this injury, they got full movement back in a couple of weeks. And it was like, they started getting moving back 2 days after the injury and stuff. So every injury is different. They really couldn't say. They just knew that I did have severe whiplash and there was swelling in my spinal cord. Mm-hmm. But therapy, they kept stressing this. I had this nurse. The nurse was like unbelievable. She was there every step of the way. She would talk to me and, say, you got to push it at therapy. And when you get there. And so when I got to therapy, I just remember sitting there, laying in bed. I got there that night and I'm like, the next day they started therapy with me. It was like a light switch flipped on. Like, what in the fuck did I do? Because I literally couldn't even sit up on the edge of a bed. I as soon as I sat up, I passed out because my blood pressure would drop so much, because it affected like so much. I never knew what a spinal cord injury or spinal cord did. It's literally your body. My body, it was unbelievable. I couldn't move my arms when I got there. I couldn't sit up. I kept having these, now I know, like I would have spasms in my legs and it's like, oh, that was weird. Cause I'd be laying in bed and my leg would just shoot up or something. It's like, what the hell is going on? So, I went to therapy the day after I got there, and they started working with me and doing different things. And I couldn't do anything. I couldn't roll to my side. I couldn't do anything at all. It was pretty much first day of therapy. I just laid there and they stretched my legs a little bit. And I'm like, what the hell this is unbelievable. Every hour or every 2 hours, they had to actually roll me to my side in bed at night. It was insane. It was honestly something that I would never want anybody to have to go through, because 19 years old, you're living your life, and it just, your life stopped. But yeah, I mean, So during therapy, I was very pissed off at the world at first, but you know, it snapped into my head that either I can lay here and do nothing or do something about it. So it was probably that whole week I didn't feel like doing shit. Didn't feel like doing anything. It was like, but I didn't miss a day of therapy ever. I would go, therapists tried to cheer me up, which I would talk, and I had a huge support system. It was, people were there seeing me every second I was there. But that first week was very hard. After that, it was like, okay, it's time to quit being a fucking pussy and do something. So like the light switch flipped on and it was game on. And I still couldn't do a lot of things that they would ask me to do or try to do. And I would get discouraged. It's like, what the hell? I can't even feed myself.
So if I can ask you real quick, at this point, what could you do? What could you move? What was your range of movement?
So for instance, if I sat in a wheelchair like I am now, I would fall forward, fall sideways.
Just like no control of your
no
core.
Control of my core. If I was laying on my back and held my arm up, it would fall and smack me in the head, both arms. Couldn't hold my arms up.
So like, could you get it up, or was someone like
somebody have to help me get it up?
All right.
I couldn't really move any of my arms. I couldn't, my hands, neither of my hands work. My left hand right now is, I'd say about 70%. My right hand still doesn't work really at all. But that was the hardest thing, I think, at that point, was not being able to feed yourself or not be able to pick anything up.
Probably very defeated, huh?
You just felt literally like this, like, why am I fucking here? Why am I even here? You know, you're at that point where, and then you're also at the point where, why am I here? But why did this happen to me? Why me? And that is something that I fought for a long time. It was like, you know, why couldn't it happen to somebody who is on fucking drugs? And you know what I mean? Like this, like that, just like, why me? You're hating the world.
There's probably a lot of what ifs, you know, what if I didn't get in that truck? What if I just stayed at the fire, you know, just.
And it kept playing over and over and over and over in my head. And that was another hardest things to overcome is, why did I do it? Why did I just listen to my parents? Why did I just stay there? Why did I do it? And you can't do that to yourself. I learned that, you know, it took a while to learn that, but you can't say why. You can't say why me. You can't say what if.
So how long did it take you before you stopped saying that? Like, when did you just own it and say, life, I'm coming after you?
Honestly, it took probably 2 weeks. I mean, I still say, I still say stuff to myself, you know.
Oh, I'm sure that's, you know, that's probably never going to go away.
I still say stuff to myself, but when I really realized, it was probably 2 weeks into therapy, thinking, I need to do something about this. And if I don't do something about it, nobody's going to do it for me. It's to the point where I need to do something. I can cry. I can piss and moan to my parents. Nobody can do it for me. And that's when I realized, okay, I'm going to give this my all, see where I go.
Yeah. I got to say, that's got to be like a true testament to your character. Cause I can only imagine majority of people 2 weeks after that aren't going to have that mentality.
Yeah, I was going to say 2 weeks. I'm really impressed that you said 2 weeks. Here, I thought you were going to say like years.
That's what I was waiting to hear.
Honestly, it was, I will say 2 weeks till I got in the mindset, sort of in that mindset where I need to do something. The what if, the why me thing, the crying behind the walls was, it was a good 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. I still get pissed off. I mean, but the point that came to me that I need to do something was probably 2 weeks, because when they started talking, I was in therapy for 2 months in patient. When they started talking about a power chair, they wanted to get me in a power wheelchair. I'm never going to be able to I'm never going to push a manual chair myself. There's no way, you know, with my function, they really need to start moving me towards a power chair.
Mm-hmm.
When I heard that, it's like, no freaking way. That's not happening. And at that point in time, I couldn't even push myself in a wheelchair. My mom, my wife, Brittany, she would come down and see me. They would have to push me around. And it's like, you feel defeat. Honestly, that point when somebody has to do something like that for you or feed you, you literally just feel defeated. And it was unbelievable. But the weeks, the months after I didn't see any improvement myself because I was in my body. People saw that I was improving different things. So I pushed and pushed and pushed. Everything I did in therapy, I put everything, my whole heart into. If I didn't feel good that day, you know, a lot of people, I've seen it, I was there, didn't go to therapy. I was like, hey, where's Jim or whatever at today? And they're like, oh, he doesn't feel good, he didn't come. I never missed a day of therapy. I asked for extra therapy on the weekends. I was there. Why not? What the hell else am I going to do?
Yeah,
I mean, you know, but, and I will say about therapy, I had as fucked up as it sounds, an unbelievable people that were going through the same type of thing with me.
Mm-hmm.
They were all older than me, maybe 30s, 40s, up to 60s. They had spinal cord injuries, and these guys were all, that's, I think, what boosted a lot of my morale. This one guy named Brad, we had a head doctor on the floor, and he would come around every morning, the head doctor, you know, he would check on you, see how things were going, do his rounds. And this Brad guy, he would always call me at like 5:30 in the morning, wake me up because he's up, and he would always mess with me. And it was freaking hilarious. And the doctor went over to his room and told him to stay the hell out of my room. He's not allowed in my room no more. And I was like, oh my gosh. And this is the same guy. He was in a accident on the job, but he wasn't as, I guess, messed up as I was. He was able to move everything, but he just couldn't feel anything. He couldn't feel anything below his waist. And I'm smirking because this guy, he was a jokester, and he was in his wheelchair in occupational therapy, and she was making him stand up at the sink to stand up. And we're sitting there, and I'm over on the bed they're trying to get me to put my socks and stuff on or do something. And he stands up and he farts. And the occupational therapist goes, Brad, I think you just had a bowel movement. Brad said, no, I didn't. No, I did not. And she put rubber gloves on and stuck her hand out his pants. I was freaking dying. It was so funny. I was like, oh my. And he's like, you got to be kidding me. But that's the things that happen. I mean, it was, I will say though, physical therapy was very hard. Occupational therapy was harder just because, you know, working with your hands, working with your, you know, they wanted you to sit up in bed. Honest to God, sitting up in bed for the first, trying to be able to figure out how to sit up in bed, literally was the hardest thing ever. You know, you take all that shit for granted. You're laying down, oh, you can just roll out of bed.
Yeah.
Me, I couldn't roll because I couldn't roll either way. I couldn't sit up. I couldn't do anything. I was pretty much, if somebody threw me on the bed, if I didn't have help, I was stuck there for days. Like I would be stuck. There was no way. And you take the little things for granted that take 2 seconds for my accident for me to do. And it took me, I couldn't do it. I literally couldn't do it. I remember picking up, they had like Mike and Ike's on the table that I had to try to pick up, and she would bring them in for me to pick them up. And if I pick them up, I could eat them. if I could have smashed every single one of them, I would have. I couldn't pick them up. I literally could not pick them up. But I mean, therapy was very, very hard. I actually, before I left, I had to be able to push myself in a wheelchair to be able to to be able to get fitted for a manual chair at my house.
Mhm.
And that was my goal. I would set goals for myself every week. Nobody knew those goals because I wouldn't say anything, but I set goals for myself. And I think that's what got me through a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
If I I wouldn't set huge goals. I would be like, okay, today I'm going to sit on the edge of bed for 2 minutes and not be able to pass out. Or today I'm going to figure out how to do something in therapy or whatever. So I would try to push myself a little bit down the hall. I remember the first time doing it. And when I pushed myself down the hall, I went out of my room and fell face first in my lap. I couldn't sit up. I was stuck face first. And my mom, I did it by myself because she told me not. The nurses and everything were all out their station. My mom said, I'm going to go grab something for lunch at the lunchroom. I said, so I'm pretty much like, I'm going to try this, see if I can wheel down the hall a little bit. Well, I made it outside of my room and face on my lap. I'm like, oh, shit. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't sit up, couldn't do anything. A nurse come running around the corner and she starts screaming. I'm like, I'm fine. I fell forward. And it's little things like that. It's like, but by the time I left, I was able to push myself. I did not have to get a power chair, but they, this therapy place, and they all need, when you get home, you have to have all this special equipment they wanted. I didn't want any of it, but I had to take it. It just was, that was difficult as well to see. My parents had to pretty much convert their whole, used to be our garage attached to our house, into a room for me. It was a huge life changing thing for my parents as well. It was very, it was that part of my life was very hard to deal with, but I knew I had to do it. It was, I can't even explain it. And this things, oh, go ahead.
I'm sure every day is a struggle, and I'm sure it will be. But I'm sure things are a lot easier for you to overcome.
Yeah.
But how long was it? Or I guess, when something happens now, you just say, I know we talked about it a little bit in the first episode, you just kind of laugh about it and then you just find a way because you have to, right?
Yeah. That's
so how long did it take you to get in that mentality? Like, oh shit, this sucks. So I'm going to figure it out anyway.
Yeah. That took a long time. That took a couple years to get, not completely to get laugh about. I would still get irritated, but now it's like, if I fall in a wheelchair, I'm like, this is ridiculous. And I start laughing. But I did want to, that's why I'm glad you brought that up, because I did want to say, going through this tough time, I found very early on that you had to laugh. Once you laughed or smiled, your whole attitude changed. In therapy, like when I was doing something, I'd get so mad, like I said, picking up those things, and my buddy that was in therapy with me would say something stupid, and it would just make me laugh. And from that point on, I was like, my whole attitude changed.
Is that something that you picked up on right away? Like you knew that laughing made,
yes,
or at least
yes.
being in a happier mindset made everything better?
Yes. I picked that up right, a couple weeks after therapy, after I met these guys, I picked it up and I would start laughing, and it's like, man, I feel better. You can laugh. But everybody, even now, everybody sees how positive I am.
Mm-hmm.
I am very positive. I try to stay very positive, but I do have bad days. I mean, who doesn't, honestly? But there's days where because even when I remember I had to learn how to put a sock on, and try putting a sock on with one hand doesn't work, one hand is 70%. You learn the craziest things, but you also get very, very, very frustrated. It is unbelievable, and you just want to flip out. But I think the reason I didn't give up at trying different things is because I don't know. Everybody always asks me, how did you do it? How did you do it? I get messages like, can you tell me how you do this or how you did it? It's like, I honest to God can't tell you how I did it. I just did it, and I knew I had to do it. There was no, I'm just going to give up, or there was no, I'm going to give up. Never. I'm not lying at all when I say this. Cross my mind. I may have probably said it a few times when I was having a flip out attack, but it never actually came to the point where I'm like, I'm just going to give up. I can't do this anymore. I knew I had to do it, and I knew it was a new life for me, but I knew I had to do it. And, this is another thing I wanted to say. People think, when I mentioned this before, people think I'm crazy when I say this, and you guys might think I'm nuts too. I did this as a game. I played this whole injury like I treat it as a game. Does that sound weird? You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think it sounds weird at all.
I treat it like a game. Like, okay, I'm going to win today. I'm going to win this today. Or I'm going to win this weekend. Or, hey, I'm going to get up in my Jeep. I'm going to do it. I played it as a game, and it sounds crazy, but that is what made my mentality. It's just weird. It might sound weird, but I think
that's super amazing, because if you think of any game, right, people become addicted to almost any game because of the reward system, right? Poker, any video games, right? If you win, or if you're winning, you have a release of endorphins, right? And that's addictive, right? So every time, that's really cool that you did that without even like knowing a psychological background on something like this, because every time you would win, I'm sure you would just feel freaking invincible, and you'd be like, hell yeah, now I'm going to do it again.
Yeah. And I never knew that.
That's so cool.
And I told somebody that I met down in Pittsburgh, and they sort of looked at me like, are you freaking nuts? You play this as a game like that? You asked me how I sort of do it, and I'm telling you, I played it as a game. If I win this today, I accomplish this today, I won. I did it.
Now, do you have a specific goal in mind at the end of this game, or it's just whatever you can do to make this a good experience, you're going to make it a good experience?
No, the end game is I will be walking. But
I guess more in the short term, like, I'm going to have a great weekend. Is it just you're going to be something specific, or is it I'm just going to be as productive as I can be? I'm going to be in a good mood. I'm going to enjoy whatever I can enjoy, and just as much positivity as I can take in. That's the goal for this week.
That's how I go. Okay. Yes, that's how I go. I thought you meant the whole end game, but
I know what the end game.
The end game is
I want you to be walking down to my house to drink beer instead of me walking down to your house to drink beer.
Yeah. No, that, what you just said though is what I do. I try to stay positive as possible at all times, but my wife will say, one thing, like, she'll say I get in bad moods a decent amount, because and I don't stay in the bad moods. That's the thing. I get pissed off for a second and I'm out of them. Mm-hmm. But it's people, it's not, the thing is, it's not that I don't know how to say this. It's not being in a wheelchair that sucks. It's everything that comes along with it, which sucks. The little things that people don't think about. Like for me, opening a drink, I have to use my teeth. If a drink is like, it has a lid on it or a cap on it, I can't, if I have to do it myself, I can't open it. I need to use my teeth. Or put my socks on, putting shoes on. I can't tie my shoes. I have to tuck my shoestrings in. If I dropping something is my thing that makes me want to just get really mad. Because and then I drop something, and then you get in that mindset where it's like, son of a bitch. So I pick it up. Fucking thing rolls off my lap again, falls on the ground. It's like, God, and that's something that really, really gets to me. There's certain things that really irritate me, but it's I don't know. I want to move on to one point. I want to move on to, which is when I started driving. Took about 2 years for me to drive after, and I knew I wanted to do it. I was nervous about doing it. I actually had to take a school course with another driver with hand controls, me driving with my hand controls to drive. And that was very weird. I also had to do a parallel parking test with hand controls, which I never thought I could do, which I somehow did. So then I started driving. You know, you think, hey, I'm going to go jump my car and take a ride. It wasn't like that. For the first couple times, my mom or Brittany or my dad, my grandpa, anybody would throw my wheelchair in the car for me. So I'd go for a ride. It really, really helped me a lot to relieve stress, just to go get away from, you know, my parents did. My mom helped me, and my parents, my grandpa, Brittany, they helped me out a ton. My friends. But there was times I just want to be alone. I want to go for a ride, just get away from everything, you know, sort of escape, just get away. But but after that, it's like, so I got my wheelchair in the back, can't really get out anywhere, can't really do, you know, I'd like to be able to just go when I want. If my mom's, you know, or nobody's around, I would like to go when I want. So I came to a point where I'm like, all right, I'm going to figure out how to get this freaking wheelchair in my car. And I watched my buddy in Pittsburgh that I met get his wheelchair out of his car. So I had an idea how to do it. I sat in my driveway for probably 3 hours one day, probably 4 hours another day. It took like a week-long thing, and I had probably 20 to 30 hours into this. And I would sit there. I would try to get in my car myself. I would fall on the floor with my car. I'm like, ugh. So if my dad or my mom was out there all the time watching me, or they'd be around doing something else in case I did fall. But it's like, I get so discouraged. I couldn't even get in my car myself. It's like, so then finally at therapy, when I got out of inpatient and into outpatient here in St. Mary's, I said, I want to start practice on transferring, you know, moving up and down the table. So I started doing that. I worked, and my goal was to be able to get in my car myself. About a month and a half later, I was getting in the car myself. Then the next goal was, okay, we got to get this wheelchair in the car. I got to figure out a way to do it. And I sat there, I banged the shit out of the side of my car, getting my wheelchair in. It was like, oh, I danced down the side. But a couple weeks later, I was doing it myself. So, I mean, it's persistence. Stay at something. You get discouraged, just take a break from it for a little bit. Go back to it later.
And not only that, but I'm sure taking that break and kind of taking a step back and looking at where you were and the even if it's the tiniest little bit of progress, you know, I wasn't even able to get close to getting into the seat, but hey, I at least got in the car. I might have ended up on the floor, but that's a step further than where I was the first time.
You're right.
And then multiply that by, you know, month and a half, and then take a step back and look, holy shit, that's a lot of steps that came together. And
now I get out of my car in a minute, and it's like, wow, came a long way.
Yeah, and talking shit and running your mouth while you do it.
Yeah. But like, yeah,
Zach, I got it's off topic question. Okay. Every time you turn to the side, either side that you turn to, what do you do that? Are you uncomfortable? Do you hurt? What's up?
It's like so the whole thing stems from therapy and them telling me, you know, you can get pressure sores, you know, you can get pressure marks, or, you know, you need to keep moving every little bit. And I think it's like a habit now. And I just constantly shift my weight because I don't want to have no pressure issues. And that in my back gets stiff. Like I get like a spasms in my back. And I've been working on that with a chiropractor, sort of, not really a chiropractor, he's sort of a therapist guy that does a lot of work with me. And I've been working on it, but my back does get stiff. Mm-hmm. It sucks, but
well, I'm sure now it's an overworked muscle, right? Because I'm sure that's how you hold yourself up, right? Your core.
Yep. Yeah. And that's people, I do it all the time at work, and people are like, are you uncomfortable? I'm like, not really uncomfortable. I think it's just a habit. I constantly move now. And I don't know. I just constantly do it.
Yeah, I see you do it all the time, and it makes me want to move too. And I want to do it with you.
No, I don't know. It's weird. It's very weird. I just.
Now, quick question, kind of touched on that. With being seated all the time, you have to worry about blood clots at all?
I never had to. I did have to wear stock, like the
compression socks. Okay.
For some time. but I never had a lot of issues with. I was very healthy when I got injured. I think I had that on my side. I never I was lifting hard. So I never was on any medication or anything. So when I got hurt, I was very healthy, and they were, they had to give me different medications for blood clots and stuff, but didn't have to right at like a couple months after I was done. And even still, my doctors can't believe I'm on no medication. I just do vitamins, and I'm on no medications.
That's awesome.
So active.
And
like,
that's
you're always like, you make me feel like shit about myself. Cause it's like, I'll be coming home and there's Zach out there with his leaf blower blowing the freaking leaves off. I get to my house, there's leaves all over the place because, hey, I'm kind of a lazy piece of shit at times. But it's like, it's one thing that's always really impressed me too. It's like, majority of the time I drive past the house, you and Britt are always doing stuff, always busy. Like, what was it the other day? I don't know if Brittany just got home, but she still had her mask on from work, and she's out there putting armor on the tires on her Jeep. And it's like,
yeah, I don't know.
How do you, like, you're just busy all the time. And I mean, it also pushes me to do more, because it's like, man, Zach's out there doing stuff. I'm sitting here like a, bump on a freaking bench. And it's like, I need to go do something. Zach's doing stuff. I should be doing something.
Well, look at that, Zach. You're inspiring your neighbors.
I'm very sincere about that. Like, that's the true thing. It's like, Zach's probably doing something right now. That's why I kind of asked you the other night. It's like, what time do you go to bed? Like, you seem like you're doing stuff all the time, because you're taking on this. You're helping us with the social media end of it. You handle hardcore off-road social media. You're down there, you're doing the stuff with the chair, the adaptive outdoors. You have a full-time job. It's like just nonstop.
On that point though, I think that it helps me not to think about other things. I like to keep my mind busy.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, dude. An idle mind is a terrible mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
But another point I want to touch on is, after this whole thing, and I did come home from therapy and from Pittsburgh, from rehab, my other hard step was going out in public. I did not want people to see me in the state I was in. I did not want to go out. I didn't want to go anywhere. My friends would call me Bo, my buddy Bo and my buddy John. They were up my house all the time, and they would ask me to go places. I didn't want to go. I wasn't going. Well, they would come pick me up and I'd go. I had no choice, no nothing. I think by them doing that is what broke me out of my shell. I didn't want people to, I don't know. I just felt weird going in public. I felt like I was getting stared at all the time. That took a long time for me to cope with. I didn't want people to, feel sorry for me. I was normal. I just couldn't walk. But that's something that's something that never left my mind, I guess. I used to, like, I was very conscious about my body and how I looked. Might sound stupid, but I liked lifting. I like staying in shape. And after this, it's like, they call it, because I have no abs and stuff, and they call it like a quad belly or whatever. So I get like a belly and stuff, and it's like, I feel weird with my shirt off. But now it's like past couple of years, it's like, I really don't give a shit. I'm healthy. I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm just gonna go with it. And if you're staring at me, I'm just thinking, must be looking good today.
Good for you, dude. Good for you. Because I know in the fitness world, or in the health world, everybody, 98% of the people on this planet have a body image issue, right? And I'm really into fitness, and I'm going to call myself out on it right now that I don't feel comfortable with my shirt off. Yet I could probably pick out 1,000 people that I see every day that would do anything to look like I do. But I don't see that, right? Because it's me. We all have a body image problem.
You're right. You're right.
You know, and we as humans, it's never good enough. So I'm really, that's really impressive that you spun that around, and I love it.
I had to. Yeah.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. Besides my bald spot, I'm perfect.
Your bald spot.
Yeah. No body image issues here.
Oh, yeah. Another little funny story. So when I got home, it was a big transition for my parents, for me. Getting showers was freaking hard because I'd have to transfer into a chair, and I couldn't really transfer to my mom, and had to help me. And honestly, all your privacy goes out the window because I need help getting dressed. I needed help. I don't anymore, but I needed help getting dressed. I needed help doing everything. It's like, oh, this sucks. But I'll never forget being I was downstairs with my parents, and I had a seatbelt on in my wheelchair at the time. This wheelchair was all sorts of rigged up. They had me strapped in every way. And I remember going, and I leaned forward to play with my dog. I bent down. I couldn't get back up. So I was trying to get to a chair to push up on the chair to get up, and the freaking wheelchair flipped over. So there I am with the wheelchair on top of me in the living room, sitting there. So I just didn't want to scare anybody. So I said, Dad, can you come here? So my mom came in, and holy shit, she freaking flipped. I was like, I'm fine. So that was the first time I ever fell. After that, it's all history. Now I fall in my wheelchair, and people just like, what are you doing?
Zach's down.
Yeah, Zach's down.
Quit messing around. We got shit to do.
Yeah, what are you doing? But yeah, it's yeah. But no, I touched base on majority of things, but we have a lot more I could go in depth with. I mean, there is going into daily tasks and how, just for me, like getting ready for work, something that takes somebody 3 minutes to do takes me 10 minutes to do. And if somebody would see me put my shoes on, it's like, wow, it's just insane how you think that you can just go slip your shoe on, go slip your boot on. Me, it's like, I got to put my shoe in front of my wheelchair, try to pick my leg up, and hopefully my foot starts to go on my shoe. Because if it doesn't, the shoe is going to go through the wall sometime. And it's like you get, but I will say, I'm just going to say this. Things that I thought were impossible that I've tried, for instance, get my sock on. I thought there is no way in hell I'm ever getting my sock on ever myself. I'll never be able to. Now I can do it pretty much with ease. And it's like the body and the mind is an unbelievable. If you think that you can't do something, you won't do it. There's no way you'll do it. But if you step back, think about it, think how you can do it, and you can do it. You can do anything. And that's one thing that I took from this is step back, think about it, and then try it again. And if it doesn't work again, don't give up on it. Just keep trying till you get it, because you will get it. And you always ask, I was always asking myself, why me? Why me? But I don't do that anymore, because it's not because I know why me. I could handle it, I guess. And I can help people. Mm-hmm. So I don't know.
I guess if there was someone for it to happen to, it's someone with a big personality, so that way they can make the best of it and show other people that they can do it too, huh?
Yeah, that's one thing I just want to get through is just don't give up, because I wish I would have started recording myself when I first got hurt, because a lot of people would be in awe. I'm not even the same person of what I was when I first got hurt. It was unbelievable.
Now, quick question to revert back to, just kind of being able to accomplish these tasks that you weren't able to do. Now, in your mind, do you have a clear image of what what you're going to do, what that process is going to be, and then just try to get your body to follow suit with what you have laid out in your mind.
Like if I want to try something different.
Like if you want to put your, like when you first started putting your sock on, do you have visualized in your mind, all right, I'm just going to bend down, put over my sock, and then obviously the body's not cooperating, but after repetition, you still have that same image. I'm just going to bend down, put my sock on. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this.
I think it's after repetition in your head. And I will say, problem solving skills that I've gained from this is unbelievable.
I bet. Are you an engineer now?
I should be. Holy shit. It's unbelievable. I've done, oh yeah. I mean, I think another thing is a lot of people in a situation similar to mine, I've seen it, are scared to try things because they're scared they're going to fail. They're scared they're going to fall. I threw all that out the window thinking, I'm just like, I'm going into this just trying it. I'm just going to try it. If I fail, I fail, but I'm going to try it again. If I fall in my wheelchair trying it, I'm going to try it again. One of my biggest accomplishments, it's stupid, this past year, I got a ton of gravel on my trailer and I wanted to fill in the end of my driveway, my new part of my driveway. And I'm like, I'm going to do this myself. I'm going to do it. I'm going to unload a ton of gravel myself. I want to do it. So I went in the morning, got it. Brittany was working. I think my cousin was there. He was working in the garage and I unloaded a ton of gravel. And after that, it's like, I can do whatever I want. I'm going to keep doing it. I really, if I put my mind to something, I know I can do it. And that was that game. That was the game I was talking about earlier. It was, I won the game today.
Absolutely.
It's crazy. It's insane.
I want to throw something out there. How you were talking about how a lot of people, they don't want to fail. And I think it's the structure of the society, even starting from a young age, especially in school. Like, I'm not a fan of school systems and stuff like that, because I know I had a hard time learning. I didn't learn like everybody else. And then usually classes seat you in alphabetical order. So I had, my last name starts with a V. So I was always in the back of the room. And that's a terrible place for a child that needs help anyway. But anytime I would ask, I'm like, I don't understand. And then they'd be like, okay, they try to explain it again. I'm like, I don't understand. And they'd be like, okay, well, if you don't understand, you're going to have to stay after because you're disrupting everybody else. And I'm like, okay. So then I remember when I was young, they put me in a special, like, I don't, like a helping or a learning help center. I remember I had to leave school and go to this little trailer, and the lady's like, I don't know why you're here. And I'm like, I don't know. They told me that you're going to help me. And she's like, you don't need help. You're not, obviously at that time, I didn't know what it was for. I just knew I needed special help. Right.
And I can relate to that too, because it's like, even because I know we had some of the same we were in the same math class, 3 out of 4 years in high school, something like that.
Yeah.
But it's the most simplest things. It's just maybe the way it's the way it's being explained to you.
Well, yeah, this wasn't about the learning. I'm sorry, I went a little off topic there. But even how that I almost felt scolded every time when I would say, hey, I don't understand. And then they're like, well, just sit down. We'll talk about it later. Well, you just yelled at me in front of everybody for asking a question and I'm a failure. You pointed it out that I can't learn like everybody else and I'm a failure. So I need to sit there and be quiet. So it's like, I know school, I'm sure the system is different now, but from that moment on, it was like, I don't want to fail. I don't want to do anything wrong.
Well, not only that, but then you don't want to stand up and say, I need help.
Exactly. And by the time high school rolled around, all it was fun. There was, thank goodness for girls, because I would have never made it.
No, I know what you're saying though. Like, I was never a genius in school. I got put in, we were just talking about this last night. I couldn't do a biology class, or it was trig too. Couldn't do it. And I literally was in my own class. They put me in my own class because they couldn't slow the class down. And I think that's where it's like, boy, I feel like an idiot. Yeah. But I don't learn the same way that somebody else does. I'm more of a hands-on learner. I see it, I can do it. I struggle with the same type of thing.
Right. And then when you do if you would get a bad grade or even fail at anything, right? Hey, I'm not a scientist, or I'm not, I'm not an engineer. Okay. So if I would fail at doing something and they would give me an F for doing it, you failed it. You're absolutely terrible. Well, I'm sorry. You guys put me in this class. You don't
Yeah.
belittle me because I'm not good at it. How can everybody be good at this? So I think that's where the fear of failing, because no one wants to be put in that class as a failure. But in reality, I mean, I know you guys know this. The only way you learn is when you fail.
Yep. 100%.
Because if everything went perfect all the time, I mean, we're either a genius or we're not doing anything that's taxing. That's
point in
hard.
case, like this podcast, this is all uncharted territory. The flaws are going to be seen, the entire time. And, I think it's going to be kind of cool to see how this progresses and hopefully transitions into a very, high scale production at some point. But, starting out, learning how to connect this camera, the mics, trying to get them to sound right so it's not all echoey and weird. And it's the flaws are being flaunted right now, and I can't wait to go back episode to episode and see how it gets refined and how we all get a little bit more educated, and the quality of the video editing and producing. Like,
even our speaking skills.
I know.
And then Zach too, you said this is the first time you told your story. I think that's really powerful. And I'm honored that we can be here, and this is recorded, that you're doing this. But in 100 episodes, when you tell your story again, because we're going to have some guests, you're going to make it half the time, if that, and you're going to be straight to the point.
Exactly.
And you're just going to spit it out, and it's going to be like, holy shit, I can't believe you said all that in 5 minutes. And then we made an hour and a half podcast about it.
I know. That was I will be straightforward with you guys. Speaking, I'm so glad we're doing this, because it's going to help me so much by speaking. I have trouble like talking in front of people, not talking, but like when we're just sitting here bullshitting or whatever, talking, it's fine. But when I'm like trying to tell something, I need to get to the point quicker, but I just need to, I don't know. I have trouble talking.
You're like me when I'm drunk and I just ramble on.
Yeah.
No,
but
I wouldn't say that. You just haven't said it enough.
Yes, you're right.
You know it. You're the only one that's happened to. So you're the only one who knows it. The more you talk, the more you tell your story, the easier it's going to come out, the faster it's going to come out. And I mean, it's a
process too.
Exactly.
It's remembering, getting all the details in line as they happen, instead of, getting, 30 seconds into the story. It's like, oh wait, I forgot to say, and then go back to it, which, that's going to be all of us with this.
It takes you back.
But before we get too far off into the weeds, I want to circle back and ask this. So were you and Brittany together prior to the accident?
No, we knew each other. We were hanging out a little bit, and then I got in the accident. Then she started coming down to rehab in Pittsburgh. And then sort of when I got out of rehab, she was with me all the time. And then we sort of got together, and
See, and I just wanted to throw that in there because that's an interesting point, a testament to both of your characters. You're right. Just goes to show how awesome you are and how awesome of a person Brittany is.
Yeah.
To dive in feet first into this journey.
It was a journey. Yeah, you're not kidding.
Yeah.
She went everywhere with me. We went when I got stem cell. That's another. We'll talk about that because that's a whole nother story. She went with me there. She went with me, everywhere. But that's what got me through a lot of the hard times too.
I don't want you to have all the spotlight. The unsung hero of the story.
I want to ask you. I see on the board you put in there handicap accessibility. I want to hear why you put that in there, and I'm sure it's for some of the reasons why I'm thinking, but I want to hear it.
You go out to eat somewhere, or you go to anywhere. You don't now, like, you guys wouldn't think much about it. I didn't think much about it, but my God, a lot of places are not handicap accessible that think they're handicap accessible. They really, really, really aren't. went to eat in a place in Ridgeway. They have no handicap entrance. I need to be bumped. I have to bump up the steps, which me and Brittany got pretty good at bumping up steps. She bumped me up backwards. But for instance, I just went through, this is the reason I put this in there, is down in St. Mary's here. Do you know you guys know the CDC building or whatever they call it?
Yeah.
You know, it's on a little hill. You got to wheel up. So it looks handicap accessible, but there's no way in hell you can go up on top of that platform, open the door with a wheelchair there. You can't do it. It's very, very hard. Different places we went. It's very hard. Another thing is, I never used to park in handicap spots because I just was like, no, you know, not handicap. I don't need that. It took me a long time to park there. It took me, and then the one day that made me realize, I saw a lady just park there, get out, walk in the store, come back out. It's like, screw that. I'm gonna start parking there. If she can do that. But no, it's like, it's the handicap part of things, or the accessible. A lot of places are not accessible, and it's thank God. For instance, hotels. I never forget going to a hotel, and we were in Kentucky, and we got a handicap room. Supposedly, I could fit through the door in the bathroom. I couldn't get in the bathroom. It's like, are you kidding me? And my wheelchair is small compared to a lot of wheelchairs. I couldn't get in the door. We had to take one wheel off and go through the door and then put the wheel back on. It's just, you don't realize that stuff.
So when this stuff happens, do you tell someone?
No, I don't, because I should do that stuff.
Yeah. Do you think that you should? Because if, you're young and, you seem to get around pretty good, but what happens when there's an older person or something that's
right,
or someone that struggles way more than you?
I've been the last couple times, not this past time, the last couple times I've been making it noted. And if I don't note it though, Brittany notes it. My wife knows it. She'll definitely let them have it if they, aren't. A lot of places though, there's not a lot of accommodation, but a lot of places do have accommodation. They help you out a lot. For instance, we went to Disney World and I got the front of every line, so that was cool.
Hell yeah.
They said, "Oh, you don't have to wait in line." Oh, sweet. So it sort of worked out in my favor there, but no.
Now, do you think that obviously as this platform grows and hopefully it gives you a platform to be more influential, do you obviously you run into that at say you go out to the Best Western or whatever, you can't get in, and I'm just using that as just a quick reference. How much do you think is really going to get done if you go down to the front desk and say, hey, just to let you guys know, this handicap accessible room, I can't even get through the door? Do you think anything that's even going to make a dent in the issue, or do you think that you would need to approach like the corporate office and say, hey, I travel a lot, I like staying in your guys' hotels a lot, but for me, being in a chair, these are the issues I run into. Would you be up for having a meeting on ways to remedy this?
I don't think that'd be a bad idea, honestly. But if you just tell the desk, I don't think nothing will happen.
Right.
I did tell a desk before down in Pittsburgh at a hotel, I don't remember what one it was, that we had some issues, couldn't do this, and they split. It was a room that was it wasn't fully handicap accessible. They didn't even question it. They switched rooms. They hooked me up. I mean, there is a lot of, they'll help you out a lot.
Yeah.
But
right, you just got to say something, right?
You got to say something. And I used to not have the balls to say anything, honestly. And then after a while, you do.
Well,
you have to.
Who's going to argue with a guy in a wheelchair?
Yeah, exactly. You're right. See, yeah.
So now, how many places do the bare minimum? They have the ramp to get into the store, and then once you're in the store, it's just is there any standards as to once you get in having a certain width on aisleways or anything, or is it the standard is get into the store, have the bathroom that's accessible and up to code? Because I know building a bathroom like that is a pain in the ass. When I was working for my brother-in-law, if you build in a commercial building, you put a bathroom in, it has to meet all the standards.
Yep.
And the placement of the railings, the height of the sink,
yeah,
having the rubber bumper guards on the pipes for people that can't feel their legs, so they're not just ramming their legs into into the plumbing. So they're getting banged up and bruised. Like that stuff seems very, and that was one thing that the code enforcement and there was a tape measure checking that very, very precisely. It just seems like, why are you going to go to all the trouble of making sure the bathroom's accessible, the ramp's accessible, but then the whole layout of the store is, 90% inaccessible to someone in a wheelchair. But on the flip side of that, how do you have a business operate the way it needs to be profitable with, making everything, useful? It seems like it'd be a wild balancing act.
That it is, but a lot of stores, believe it or not, are very, I mean, I can get around every store. But sometimes you run into stores where you go and they got freaking alleyways about 2 inches wide that you can't get down. So that is hard. Or they put the clothing racks really close and you're riding through clothes, smacking you in the face. But yeah, it's 50-50 with stuff like that. But yeah, it's
hopefully this gets out there and people can take it upon themselves to think, looking to things for another person's eyes, have another perspective. I'm sure it'd be more relatable to people that own smaller stores, being able, hey, I can make these small adjustments and hopefully it can greatly benefit some people. But
you're right. It's things that don't, like, I would have never thought of this stuff prior. I never thought about anything about this prior. And it's like, now I'm in a situation, you see a lot of things. Well, for instance, you have to help me down around,
to get down here.
To get down here. It's like, I hated to ask for help, but if I didn't ask your help, I'd probably be down over the hill in the woods right now.
It's a bonding experience.
Oh yeah.
Well, you can't go down over the hill. Okay, we need you for the podcast.
Yeah.
So
all right.
No, he absolutely could go down over that hill.
Oh yeah. Probably. If you weren't there, I'd probably be done.
I almost watched our neighbor's kids go down in a cozy coop. I thought there was going to be one less kid in the neighborhood because he was screaming down that hill, and where I was at, it looked like it was just a drop off. But thank God it really tapers out. There's a long runway there, but I thought
no,
I thought there was gonna be one less child running around.
But I gotta eat some dinner. I got one phrase I gotta say though. I thought that, do you see my end quote? This is my favorite. I think I heard this probably 5 years ago. I'm not sure who says it, but it's you're responsible for your life. The past is the past. Only you have the power to take responsibility to move your life forward. Live by that. I'm telling you, you are the only one in charge, and you are the only one that can tell yourself to get your ass in gear and get moving.
If you have any, well, I know that was pretty badass advice right there, but if you have anything that you could tell anybody that's in a terrible situation, whether it's an accident or just, down on their luck, whatever, what's one awesome thing that you would tell them? Come on, brother. This is supposed to be quick.
I'm thinking you can't feel sorry for yourself. You got to get your ass. I don't know. You got to get your ass moving.
There you go.
Perfect. You got to.
Yeah, keep trying. Keep grinding.
Keep grinding. It's hard. It's hard when you ask me that. It's like there's so many things going through my head and so many things I want to say, but to sum it up, it's like
in one phrase, if you met yourself, 10 years ago, where you are now, what's one phrase of advice that you would give yourself? What would you say? Don't give up? Or what would you say?
Quit being a pussy and get going.
There you go.
Perfect.
I like it too.
We'll wrap it up on that one.
Yeah.
So hey, as always, guys, thank you for tuning in. If you made it to the end of this video, we greatly appreciate it. We hope you took something away from it. We'll post links to these guys' website, Adaptive Outdoors and CMT Training. Am I getting that right, Tobe?
CMT Trainer.
My bad. We'll post links for both of those in the description. Thanks guys. Thanks for tuning in. Like us, subscribe to us. We're going to put as many of these out as we possibly can. And, we're going to keep grinding, making this thing grow, and hope you guys come along for the ride. Thank you.
Thanks guys.
Yeah.